And welcome into another edition of No Holding Back, talking hockey today with a longtime friend and was a longtime broadcast partner for many years, Sean Ritchlin. Richie, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. Holding up as best as we can in this environment that we're in right now. So many people trying to just stay active and get in the mix somehow, some way. So it's fun to do this with you.
Well, it's great to have you on, man. We're going to get into a lot of different things. And just for the record, you're not at Yost. Where exactly are you? If you're cool disclosing where you're at.
I'm in an undisclosed. No, I'm down in Florida. I've been here since March 15th. We took off when Michigan announced the stay-at-home thing, and we felt it'd be better for our family to be down here. So it's been good. I mean, it's been nice to be out and actually, ride your bike and be able to go out. But looking forward to getting home, man. I've been gone for a while, so looking forward to get back to Michigan and get a little bit back to normal.
Yeah, everything's good. All the family, your mom, your kids, your wife, everything's good.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we came down here. My mom's down here, so someone had to come down here and make sure, she could figure out how to set up Instacart. I mean, who would have thought a 76-year-old is now a master at Instacart? So just the little things that maybe some of the elderly people couldn't do, now they're going to learn how to do, which I think is really cool. So we've been able to help her get that all situated and get organized from a standpoint of not going out of the house. I'm really concerned about not just my parents, but all the elderly.
Yeah, my folks are in their 60s and they're in Seminole, so I'm with you, man. My dad's still working. I'm like, come on, Dad, really? But that's the way that's the way he is, so I get it.
Yeah.
To your point, I mean, I've been doing this with Luke for the most part, and he came to me about 3 weeks ago, and he's like, Dad, you want to do a podcast? Now it's spawned into YouTube, and I didn't know how to use any of that stuff, man. So it's to your point, man. That's one of many positives for me that's come out of all this too. So it's been a lot of fun, and I never thought I'd be sitting next to Luke. You've known Luke a long time, man, and now he's kind of running the show with me.
That's great. It's good to have what a great kid to have doing that with you, and a good experience for him to. When else would you have a chance to do this with your kid? You'd be on an airplane somewhere.
Exactly. So maybe the most important question I'll ask you before we eventually get going here. How's the golf game?
It's been great down here. They have a lot of rules in Florida of what you can do. They cut the noodles that you put in a swimming pool.
Yeah.
They chop those down just below the hole, and you don't pick up the ball ever. It's actually kind of nice. I hope it sticks around. You don't have to touch anything. It's great. And
you're banking them hitting them off the pipe or what?
Yeah, that's the one negative thing. If you're gonna get an ace, it probably won't work. But there's only been one of those in my life, so I don't think we're getting any more. But the fun part of it is, they do a great job of social distancing. You got one person in a cart, nobody touches a flag stick. One person on the tee box at a time. So I think it's a great way for people to get out and exercise and make their brain work, man. Like sitting at home all day, I think people's heads are going to explode.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's finally getting nice here for the record. It's about 60 and sunny out here today. So hopefully the weather's good when you guys do make your way back. But so I'm going to go back to, I want to say it was late October of 2004. I think you had been done playing in your pro career after your days in Michigan for about a year. I think at that time you were coaching some kid named Cam Fowler comes to mind. And you and I get paired up by the fine folks at Comcast. You were a ex-Michigan player. They wanted an ex-Michigan player for the Michigan games, an ex-Michigan State guy who ended up being Lyle Fair, a good friend of ours as well. And I never forget the first time we met. We sat at a local tavern about 10 minutes up the road from me, and you looked at me and you said, how's this going to go on Friday? And I go, it's going to be exactly the same minus the beers and the swearing. It's going to be polished. And that was our first game at Yost, that beautiful arena behind you. Take me back to what you remember about the first days of embarking on your broadcasting career, which is we're going to get to as we go along here today.
I'll tell you what, I was so nervous for that first game. I'll never forget it. Ferris State played Michigan, and Bob Daniels was the coach at Ferris State. And I obviously knew a lot about the Michigan team just from only being removed from the program for 5 years, and had a good idea of the recruits that were in, and stayed in touch with Coach Red Berenson quite a bit. So I knew their club pretty well. I knew absolutely nothing about Ferris State. And so I remember calling Bob Daniels and saying, hey, man, I'm doing the game. I don't know anything. Can you give me a rundown on your team? And, he did. But the one thing that I took away from actually the first game I did was you got to be prepared clearly, but you can't be over prepared. Too many times I feel like broadcasters get so prepared now and don't really talk about the game. They don't talk about what's going on, anticipation. And that's one thing I try to do is tell the viewer a little bit about what's going to happen and how it's going to lay out. When something does happen good, maybe why it happened. But man, that first one, I'll tell you, I was sweating like crazy. But I tell you what, to everyone out there who's going to listen to this, working with you was a blessing because you were so patient and easygoing with me and showed me the way. And when I screwed up, you fixed it real quick. So it was always fun. You were my Band-Aid, that's for sure.
I don't know what I was getting into, man. I just, we just, for whatever reason, we just clicked, and we'll get into that as we move along. But I want to go back to something I saw you tweet recently, and it was, I think it was last week, and I never knew this about you. Maybe I did, but I might have forgotten, but I don't think I did. And you mentioned seeing Tom Mees, who I love doing college hockey. When I wasn't even totally in broadcasting yet. I was, still trying to find my way. And you saw him in that interview, and something to the effect of like, he was the first guy that had a real impact on you to even think about broadcasting. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, it's wild. You're watching the Jordan thing, The Last Dance. Everyone takes away different things from things they watch. It's kind of weird. So many people who watch that came out with a different perception of what you see. And to me, it was seeing a young Tom Mees. It was wild to me seeing him interview Jordan. If you have a chance, go back there and look at him. Look how young he is. And, he's sitting there talking to what is going to be an icon. And Tom was an icon to me because he had been broadcasting college hockey, had a huge passion for it. I went to boarding school in Connecticut, close to Bristol, and, you're always around the ESPN aura. And back then, it was huge. It was a big deal back then. As far as Sports Center and whatnot. So having Tom Mees at our national championship game in 1996 in Cincinnati, which is a whole nother story. That was such a debacle, that tournament, that weekend. I'll go back to that in a second. I'll get
That's
way
all right.
off the rails.
Yeah,
but
no worries.
Tom Mees, this guy, that's the year I hurt my leg, so I didn't play in the game. And I had just started skating again after having 13 surgeries on my leg, and just be happy to be alive at the end of the day. But I sat down there as an injured player. I was in my sweet tracksuit from Nike, which we all thought was amazing.
Yes.
Looking back at them now, you're like, what were we wearing? I go up and talk to him, and I'll never forget it. I sat down and I said, man, tell me a little about, why you love hockey. And he goes through the people and the process, all the things we all, love about the game on a daily basis, and think about all the coaches we talk to and the kids we talk to, how good at kids they are. One of the conversations I had years ago with a kid who I knew was just going to be a star if I talked to him was TJ Oshie. This kid, he was unbelievable as a young player at North Dakota, and look what he's done now. But these are the conversations Tom Mees had talked about. And he said, the one thing I love about it is the fans are passionate. It doesn't get its play against the other sports for sure, but it is a sport of people who carry like a code or an honor. And I like that. And then we got into broadcast. He talked to me all about what he's done and how he's done it. And, he's talking for half an hour. Here I am, this, 18-year-old kid who's a healthy or unhealthy, trying to work through an injury. And he took the time to talk to me, and he was so gracious. And ever since then, I was like, you know what, I want to do that at some point in time. And I didn't think it happened as quick as it did, but it happened fast.
Well, it did. I mean, you and I did a lot of games together, man. I want to say we did about at least a dozen Michigan games a year for probably the 5 years we were together. I think it was around that number, wasn't it?
At least. And then, of course, the Monsters. We did a ton of Monster games together.
The American League.
The American League, and then the NCAA tournament as well. So who knows how many games, but a lot.
Yeah. So I want to get to you on this because I know you probably would have had all kinds of things going on with folks. You're successful in business now, which we'll get into here in the Metro Detroit area. And the Frozen Four was supposed to be here. What kind of blow was that for you, just psychologically, man, that it didn't happen here?
I was gutted, to be completely honest with you. It sucks.
Yeah.
I had worked with some of the people in the committee on earlier going down to games. I went to the Michigan skate game down at LCA and talked to everybody, getting everything ready. Ticket sales were going unbelievably well. And downtown was buzzing. People were excited to be there. Hotels were selling out. It was going to be a terrific weekend. And if you think about, for a college hockey tournament, the city of Detroit right now has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
Because you've got terrific restaurants, you've got awesome hotels, and you have casinos, which I know people like. By the way, I've heard a rumor that people like these casinos.
Yeah.
And so you got a lot of things down there that are attractive. So I know I was bummed, more so because I wanted to show off our city for all the people that don't have a great thought of it. There's a lot of people at ESPN are like, oh my God, can we stay downtown? Is it safe? I'm like,
yeah.
What? Have you been there? They're like, no. They still have an old aura of what it is and what it was. So anytime we get a chance to show it off, I want to do it. But unfortunately, this time it didn't work out. Have they announced yet what they're going to do? Are they going to go straight to Pittsburgh, or what are they going to do?
I don't know that 100%. I would think, that they're going to try to make good on it, but I don't think anything officially has been announced. I mean, I'm with you, man. I wouldn't have worked it. We're going to get to that. You would have. But just, I wanted to go. I mean, because, I've been to 2 Frozen Fours, the years I did the Hobie show with Clay Matvick when I was the reporter, both in Denver when Kevin Porter behind me, I don't know if you can see him in there. There he is. The year Ports won, and then the next year when Gilroy won. And I mean, what an event. My thing was I was usually doing lacrosse, so I was never around. And I was excited that I was going to be able to go down to the semis at least. So like you, man, disappointed. And you would have worked that. You've been doing the Frozen Four now for how many years now with ESPN? Has it been 5?
I've been doing the Frozen Four for 5, but I've been doing the tournament for a long time. I think.
Well, you and I started in 07 together. We were together 9 years.
Yeah.
We were split up.
My 13th year. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. You think back to those, so many road trips you and I took. Oh my God. We've had some hairy ones with the snow. Holy smokes. Remember that trip back from Columbus that one time? We couldn't even see out the window. We're driving. We made it back though.
That was when we started. You and I were kind of plucked. Excuse me. We were plucked by a guy named Steve Curran, who, we were doing the games here in the CCHA back in the day. We were plucked by Steve, and a couple things that was coming to mind, and I know you'll reply and have thoughts on this. Remember the game we did? So what ESPN, for those that don't know, ESPNU started doing hockey on Sundays at 4:00, and Sean and I did it for a couple years, right?
Yeah, that was Red's favorite game, by the way.
See, that's one of the reasons we were so good together. You read my mind. He said, I love the fact that there's no timeouts, and then he forgot he was on the road. He had the last line change. He hated it.
Oh my God, he hated it. Unbelievable. I see him, he still brings it up.
Does he really?
Oh, he's a beauty. The best.
He was so mad because I don't think Cogliano was back or something. No, they lost Cogliano because the game was Sunday and not Saturday. Was that what it was?
Something happened. I don't remember, but he was pretty good.
Yeah, well, I do remember that trip you're referring to. That was coming back from Oxford in an
Miami, yeah.
And then remember the other one we took. We did Notre Dame. I think we did both Notre Dame games, whoever they played. And then we drove in the middle of the night to Oxford. I think that was a difference. Remember that? It was a blizzard, and we didn't know where the hell we were.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was not a fun drive, but we made it. And what was a good weekend back then. The old CCHA rivalries were pretty heated back then. So it was a good tournament or good games to be covering, and it really propelled my career to kind of being the NCAA guy for ESPN. I've done all of the regular season games now since I can remember.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for you, man. And, I still miss working with you without getting too sappy on you here, Richie. But, things change and, all those things happen. So it's all good. And you mentioned we worked a year together doing American League games. And, you bit the bullet, came down. I remember my boss, Dave Dombrowski, I said, look, I've worked with this guy for 5 years. I'm not kidding you. This is exactly how it went, folks. Dave said, give me a tape of you two. He put it in for maybe 30 seconds, Sean. He's like, give me his number. And he called you my first year. And that was a huge help to me, man, because here I am finally getting to pro hockey, which has always been my dream and my goal. And I was fortunate to have you there with me. And that was That was a lot of fun. We saw a lot of good players that, some are still playing today, man.
We did. There's tons of good players that went through. I think about that a lot.
Yeah.
To see the talent that came through all those games. It was a long time ago now, but there was a lot of talent. And of course, probably the biggest star of the whole thing is Dave Quinn.
Yeah.
Now the head coach of the Rangers, and he was a great coach down the minors for so many guys, and he brought David Oliver with him, and the whole crew's there.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's spot on, no doubt about that. At least about that group that we had for the couple years that we were doing the games there. I was there, and I think you didn't do them both. You did them the first year with me, right?
No, I did it for 2 years.
You did both years. Okay, my mistake.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But the second year I didn't do as many because I got tied up with some work stuff, so it got in the way.
That's what it was. And then Jock Callender came in and did the ones that you couldn't do. So let's go back to one of the things that still impresses me about you. There's a lot of things about you that impress me. You came to Michigan as a 17-year-old. There are not many players that do that at all. How did it all go down for you? How did you end up playing in that beautiful arena behind you so many years ago, Sean?
Well, I was lucky. I mean, you look back at the situations you get put in. My career as a player was really propelled when I was 13, in that Pee Wee tournament in Quebec.
Okay.
And had a great tournament. I had a chance to play as a kid with Marty Reisner, who had a long NHL career as my center, and he just set me up. I'd tap in back doors. It was great. And then I played in the U.S. national team, which is now in Ann Arbor, or not Ann Arbor, sorry, Plymouth.
Plymouth,
and that when we did it, we were in Lake Placid or Colorado Springs. And the team we had, the names, Brian Boucher was our goalie. Brian Berard was the D-man. Bubba Berenson, my teammate at Michigan, was another D-man. But also you had Eric Rasmussen, Mark Parrish, Wyatt Smith. I'm trying to think of the other guys who won the NHL. Well, obviously Reisner was on that team. But it was just a really deep crew of talented guys. And because Berard was the number one pick, or thought to be the number one pick,
right,
there was tons of people watching. I mean, we had scouts all over those games, and getting on that team and then getting noticed and then going to Hotchkiss for boarding school, which at the time was what most people did out east. It was a good situation, but Michigan was losing Mike Knuble, and they needed another right winger. They had Billy McCall and Warren Looning, and they were looking up and down the depth chart, and they probably needed another one. And I think that's why it all transpired the way it did.
Take me back to the first game when you came down those stairs. You remember that?
Oh my gosh, yes. God, so long ago. I just remember having so much respect for my teammates. One of the things that Red Berenson did a great job with, and I got to tell you, I feel like a lot of coaches struggle with this now. I really do, because of the way the world is now with social media and everything else. But the respect I had for our seniors and juniors, I didn't want to fail for them. I wanted to make sure we worked so hard and had success for them. I mean, you guys had Steve Halko was our captain freshman year, but you had Brendan Morrison, Jason Ballero, Warren Looning, John Madden, guys like Harold Schock, Blake Sloan. Turco was our goalie. You just wanted to go out and not screw up for them. Coaches mattered, but the way they set the team up was self-governed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think that's why we had so much success. I see it now where it's just different. Freshmen come in and we can talk about programs that have trouble with high flying freshmen come in. It just doesn't seem to work out. You got to have that pecking order of responsibility. We worked so hard as freshmen to gain the respect of our upperclassmen, and that was something that separated those teams from all the other teams. I think at Michigan in the past that didn't win, and in the future that are struggling to win. That team, for whatever reason, for those 4 years I was there, had that respect for the upperclassmen, and the underclassmen by the end of the year were dialed. They knew exactly what they had to do.
And you pointed out to me, you pointed out to me a couple times in all the years we've known each other and talking. You guys, weren't there 10 freshmen in that? Was it 10 in that class?
Our class was 6 and 1 walk-on.
Okay.
But the junior class was 9.
Okay. Well, the point I wanted to make is you got your class ended up being, correct me if I'm wrong, the winningest class in Michigan history. Is that right?
Yeah, so you had the class before us, which was the juniors. They were the winningest class for a long time. Well, I should say the juniors. Listen to me. Billy McCall, Marty Turco, their crew. I'm not sure if we ended up being the winners. We might have been.
I thought
It's them or us. It's them
yeah.
or us. I'm not sure. Pretty ridiculous years. All back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. And so you've heard this, and I'm going to let people hear your reply. Red has said for years, even though you guys won in 96, you won in 98, he still says, or at least last time I talked to him, the 97 team that didn't win was the best team he ever coached. Why does he say that? And do you agree with that?
I do agree with it. I think, it's an argument. It's an argument you could talk about for days. I mean, there have been some really, really talented teams in college hockey over the years. But you look at that club and who was on that team and the leadership with Brendan Morrison as captain and a bunch of the guys' names I already mentioned.
Yeah.
But we had just a great crew that had won in 96. They were extremely talented, ready to go. And all those guys came back. Think about it. First round picks came back. Botterill came back. Now the GM of the Sabres.
Yep.
Morrison came back. Now they'd all be gone. They wouldn't even think about coming back.
Yeah.
And Turco came back.
Yep.
They all came back. And they all wanted to win one. And we lost 3 games all year. And every game we lost by a goal.
Wow.
And it was, I've talked to a lot of people who we played against then. And they all still say that was the best team they ever played against. Now, in the history of the game, where does it stand up? I'd say it's right up there with that main team that won with Korea and Montgomery.
Right.
The BU team in 94, I think they won. 90, maybe it was 93. I'm not sure. That team was stacked too. But, a lot of talent on that group. The best story of that entire year, this is hilarious. So this is my sophomore year. I'm playing third line, second power play, back and forth, all year, battling for second line time, etc.
Yeah.
I didn't get a shift. Did not get one shift, and Brendan Morrison had a hat trick. So the rest of the game, I'm just sitting there like, all right, well, I get. Is it point night? What are we doing here? I look at Brendan like, are you tired? Can I get you a water? What do you need? And he was such a good guy. He's like the nicest kid ever. It's amazing how good of a competitor he was for being such a nice person.
Yeah.
The talent, the skill level, bro. I tell you, when you hit that ice, it's almost like we play with other teams. They just couldn't keep up speed wise. We were a step faster than most teams we played. And then and give BU a lot of credit. BU beat us in Milwaukee, and they played us really physical, kept the puck down low as much as possible. And they kept Brendan out of the game. And a lot of that was Chris Drury. Chris Drury just did a great job.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned Drury, and obviously I knew that. And who was the defenseman they had on that team? Was that Pody?
Tommy Pody was on that team. He was a good one. But that was definitely not their best club either. That was not their best club either. And they ended up, unfortunately for them, losing in the finals. But it was what a year, though. That team was such a fun ride, man. I can't tell you. Watching some of the things that would happen on the power play, and you go back and watch some of those old tapes, it's comical. It really is. Like, how do you stop these guys? What do you do? There's nothing you can do. I'd be sitting on the bench like, I don't know. Don't ask me. Flying the puck all over. Because Bill McCall had one of the best shots probably in college hockey for several years. And he would sit in the left side. Morrison would run it from the top. And they'd send the one-timers in front of the big Botterill in front of the net, and they put John Madden on the offside. Well, what are you going to do? How do you stop that? All those guys played in the NHL and played meaningful time in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
So, good players.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the reason I brought up that thing with Drury, so David Quinn was a guest on this podcast, this TV show, whatever you want to call it. I'm doing out of my living room now, whatever.
I have a bone to pick with him on a comedy mate to me, so we're going to go back to that. But go ahead.
Well, and that's fine. And I said, I said to him, he mentioned Drury, obviously, in the BU connection now. He's now with the Rangers, obviously. And I said, how in the world the Colorado Avalanche ever thought it was the right – and I'm a Wings fan, you know that. How in the world the Avalanche thought it was the right thing to do to trade him? That guy was about as clutch as they came.
we look at management in the NHL for years and shake our head and
Yeah.
the decisions they made. Who knows? It could have been a personality conflict with the
Mhm.
star player. It could have been a situation where the GM had money issues and they felt his contract was going to be too big. You just don't know. Because when something doesn't make sense like that, it has to be something else. People are not that stupid.
Yeah, you're right. So what's your bone to pick with Quinny?
Oh, so I had a conversation. By the way, I'll preface this with Quinny, I love you. You're a great guy. But here's my bone to pick with you.
Bring it.
So we had a conversation after Jack Eichel won the Hoey Baker.
Okay.
The next year, there was a great freshman in college hockey that was up for the Hoey Baker. Following year, do you know
Kyle
who it was?
Connor.
Kyle Connor. Boom. You're right.
Yep. Michigan guy.
I said we were having a funny conversation, and he goes, he said something about Eichel's going to be a superstar in the league, and just didn't think Connor would get to that level. Connor's going to be a heck of a player, but he's not. I don't know so much anymore. Look what's happening, David.
He's sniping 30 a year, Richie.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm just kidding, obviously, but Kyle Connor, I think he's just been incredible. So is Eichel. I mean, he's going to lead the Sabres to probably pretty good things down the road if they can stick out what they're trying to do there. But Kyle Connor, to me, he was the most unbelievable freshman season I've seen in college hockey. And we obviously watched it close being in Ann Arbor, but
right.
He could shoot the puck so quickly off his stick. And he's showing it now at the next level, and good for him to do the things he's doing. And pretty impressive if you think about it. He's got 30, I think 38 at the break. I don't know. I forget the number.
He's north of
I can't
30.
keep track of these stats anymore.
No, he lights it up every time he plays. So speaking of that, there's so many good players you played with, and you've touched on that. But I want to ask you, in our time together, in the 5 years we did CCHA games together, the guys that played in the Maize and Blue, and there were a ton of them that were like the highest of high-end players. But the line I loved the most was Caloric, Porter, and Pacioretty. Man, were those guys good. Who comes to mind for you from the years of broadcasting Michigan games that stand out as highlight guys?
Man, there's been so many games that we've done. That line was ridiculous because you have the size of Pacioretty.
Yep.
Nobody knew how good he was going to be either. That was the weird thing about Pacioretty.
Right.
When he left early, I was like, why is he leaving early?
Right.
And then look what he's done. He's been incredible at the next level. He kind of got bigger, stronger, and he became obviously an incredible locker room leader with the Canadians and whatnot. Yeah, that line was great. I'm trying to think of the other lines out there that have been fun to watch, but I don't think any of them top that. I don't think any of them top that at all. I think that was probably the best line.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, for my money, the most electrifying player in the time we were there was Hensick. But
yeah,
I don't really remember who he played. I don't think it was like he played for 4 years, so he played with a lot of different people. But I still remember the Michigan State game, the first one we did in that 2004 season. Slater was at Michigan State still. They had some people. It was still, before the rivalry declined for a few different reasons. But I think in that game, Hensick must have dangled the entire team. It was up the near side to us, right beneath us. He dangled every player. And he was one of the best college players I've ever seen.
Yeah, Hensick was unbelievable. It just, for whatever reason, didn't translate to the next level, but great player. I think the most electrifying player that I saw since I've been there in spurts when he was on was Cagliano. He was a freshman, and he get that puck on the wide side and forget it. Nobody could keep up with him. He was gone. And then, when I was gone, the kind of the gap years where I was playing pro and coming back to broadcasting, people say Camilleri was the same way, and I didn't get to watch him as much. But it's funny. I look at all these games we've done, and you have an amazing memory. I don't know how you remember all this crap, but you do. I remember like bits and pieces of it. The one game I remember of all the games we did, more so than any time, was in St. Louis with Colorado College in Schwartz.
I know where you're going.
And this kid had gone through so much. His sister had passed away. His brother's playing. His sister was a great player at Yale. Unfortunately, he got sick and had passed away. Emotionally going through a lot. his draft team, the St. Louis Blues, he's playing in their building, and there's no way they can win this game.
It's mighty Boston College.
Yeah, and I've never seen a guy carry a team the way he carried a team in that game. It was unbelievable. And look at him now; he's a great player at that next level. But I think it came to me because of you talk about guys who carried teams and lines that carried teams, and he carried that team. He was out there every other shift. It was unbelievable.
He was. Yeah, I think he ended the week. I think he had 8 points on the weekend or something ridiculous number like that. It was insane. Well, they put up 8 in that game against BC, I think.
Yeah, he was gone the next week.
You and I both.
St. Louis is like,
what's that?
Yeah, St. Louis is like, let's go, buddy. It's time.
Yeah, and of course that was a game memorable for other reasons. You had the whole issue with where was the puck and the Michigan and Omaha game. And it seemed like every year we had controversy once we finally got Michigan, because the first year we sent Michigan State out of Grand Rapids. Then it was North Dakota. Then it was Bemidji State. And then I think we had a run of like 4 years in a row where you and I had Michigan games, and Kevin Lynch seemed like was at the center of controversy in just about every one of those games, right?
It was wild, that whole sequence of events that happen. And we have these calls with officials, right? And I'm always like, we're going over the most obscure thing on the calls with the officials. And the shit always happens. I don't get it. How does it always happen? It always
in our
happens.
games.
I know. It's like, why does this have to happen? I'm asking 10 people, like, where in the rule book does this show up? It's like you need someone when you're filing your taxes, you need an expert around you, because some people love to dive into the rule book, bro. I'm not one of them. I call Pietrowski, be like, hey man, what's going on here? You're my guy. Tell me what's going on.
I was
crazy.
I was gonna say, Richie, I believe at that moment you did get on your phone.
I did. Yeah, I called Pi.
Yeah. Because they're like, we don't know. Like, you couldn't see the puck. Where was it? Is it over the line? I think it was Patterson that shot it, if my memory serves me correct.
Man,
but
it was a weird situation. But that always happens in the tournament. Regular season games, from time to time, this stuff happens.
Yeah.
If you get to the tournament, for whatever reason, weird crap happens. And thankfully, the officials or Steve does those calls with us. And as a result of those calls, it's like, okay, maybe I should be looking for this.
Right.
Now it's the offsides video review. Like, I think this is the dumbest rule of all time.
Yeah.
A guy is a tiny hair offsides 20 minutes ago, or not, like 30 seconds ago. The play's moved on. They got to figure that one out, because it just ruins the motion of everything that's going on in the game.
Yeah, we had one of those. I want to say it was in St. Cloud this year. And, look, I do football, basketball. I do like 9 sports. And I think, to some degree, I think review is good, but I also think that at times it's killing sports in a way. You lose momentum. You just take the flow of the game out of it. And like you said, if the guy's that much, come on. It just, I don't know. It's
if it immediately results in a goal, I get it. Like if it's someone going in front on a 2-on-1 and the pass is ahead skater, or a pass is behind the skater and they score, totally get it. But if that happens and it doesn't get called, and 10 seconds later they're down, like, come on. I mean, at some point, what are we doing here?
Right.
And I think a lot of times we forget, as a community of college hockey people, that this is entertainment.
Yes.
This is entertainment. This is the only way people at college hockey is going to, by the way, even now with COVID-19 going on, this is going to be a problem. And I think it's going to be a problem for all universities.
Yeah.
What's going to happen if college football doesn't get back online? How many programs are going to shut down if we don't have college football?
It's a great question and a great point. I mean, we've already seen there's been other, not hockey so much, but there have been other I've seen soccer programs cut. I've seen other things cut already, to your point. So,
and maybe this will be, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I said maybe this will be a real catalyst to think about how we can change the entertainment value for our sport, because we need all teams to be revenue positive.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Sean Ritchlin, our guest here, ESPN hockey analyst, and we worked together many years. I don't even know how many games we did, but it's definitely in the hundreds, and I appreciate Sean joining me from an undisclosed location in Florida, right?
I'm on Siesta Key, by the way. And the problem down here, I got to tell you, is everything's shut down, right? As you know, because of
Yeah.
us. And I'm staying near the downtown area, which is really cool. And my favorite bar in the world I can walk to. They have bands playing, tiki bar, guys jamming. It's called ska, but that's irrelevant. But they have. It's a ghost town. This is like a happening place. It's just really, really bizarre to be here. Like tumbleweeds going through the town when it's normally buzzing with people on spring break or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, personally, man, I mean, over the years, my schedule's changed to where I'm usually done in mid-May. I just started 2 months early, and I'm pretty much a hermit anyway. So this is, it is what it is. And
You're a hermit.
well, I mean, just because I travel and I want to be home, and now I got a studio in my living room, and I'm having fun, man. But everyone's dealing with it differently, and it's strange. I mean, I went to Sam's with my girlfriend yesterday, and it was lined up all the way to the back of the store. I mean, it's just nuts the way things are going to change. I don't even want to continue to think about the way it is right now. But as we're talking pucks, so we talked some about your former teams and all that, and I should have grabbed the picture. I've got the locker room picture hanging on my wall with Brendan holding the one finger up, Red's staring at the puck. I had him sign it the year I did his radio show. And for years, David Oliver, you mentioned him, who we're both friends with, was a part of those Michigan teams with Wiseman and so many talented players that couldn't get over the hump. And when you guys finally did in '96, man, what was that like for you guys to know that you finally did it? I believe, as Brendan said, for all the Michigan teams that didn't, or however he worded that.
Yeah, we were grateful. But I think a lot of that, respecting your leadership of the team, the juniors and seniors, that was what we felt when we came in, my class. I think that was instilled by guys like David Oliver, Wiseman, Steve Shields, Mike Knuble, Ricky Willow. These guys who had built this culture that had really taken off. And even though they didn't win, boy, they had some great teams, and they certainly had a chance to win. But if it wasn't for them doing what they did, I don't think we would have had the same culture that we had. And it's the most underrated piece of the puzzle in college or any sport, pro sports, college sports. I mean, all this analytic bullshit, you could throw it out the window if you don't have chemistry in a locker room. Right. I can promise you. If a guy's not going to go in there and get the puck for me or protect me when someone's coming at me full speed because we don't have that relationship, it ain't going to work. You can look at all the analytics you want to look at. Now, baseball may be the only differentiator. But then you can just steal signs and win championships. So who cares?
Banging trash cans. I mean, the amount of football teams. I mean, the amount of football teams in college ball using it's crazy. I mean, it's unreal. And sometimes I'm sitting there doing a game, and I'm like, really? They're going to do this? But I hear what you're saying loud and clear, man. That chemistry in that room has got to be in sync. And you guys get another one in '98. You separate the two, or is a ring, man?
Well, yeah. Well, you cut out there for a second, Benny, but I think you're referring to '98. If I'm right.
Yes.
Let me see if it's my Zoom or one second. Challenge here. Maybe I'll turn off. Oh, there we go. All right, I'm back. Can you hear me?
There you are. Yeah, I got you.
Still frozen?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, man. So 98 was wild. We stunk all year. We did. We were terrible. We had one thing. We had one thing in our back pocket. We had a group of guys who had won, which were really good. But we had a ton of freshmen, and we just lost that '97 class. So all those guys left, and everyone's saying Michigan's done. And I got to tell you, they were right for the first. We were trying to find our way. Our captain got hurt. Matt Herr got hurt. And Bill McCult on my shoulders for probably 3 months until Matt Herr came back. And we had Marty Turco, though. And when Turco got hot, I'm telling you, we couldn't lose. The guy was unbelievable. You go back and look at some of these games where he played in at the top lazy. And we also got people at North Dakota are probably gonna, want to come at me for this one, but we played them. We played North Dakota at Yost, and And they were the number one seed. And we won that game. And I'll never forget it. A huge hit in the first period. Curtis Murphy was an unbelievable defenseman for North Dakota for years. Laid out Greg Crozier. I mean, Greg Crozier's still feeling this hit. And just crushed him. And for whatever reason, we got into the game quickly after that moment and took it in. But the fans at Yost carried us. If that's a neutral site game, it would have probably been a little different story. But, we poured it on, and Turco just played out of his mind. I mean, he was ridiculous. And we got a really lucky break because we could not beat Michigan State that year. For whatever reason, they had our number. And that team at Michigan State was awesome. And I have so much respect for what Ron Mason's had built with that team. And the guys that were at that program were so good. And they lost to Ohio State at Yost. I'll never forget it in overtime. A quick little snapper beat Alvin High, and that's how that senior class at Michigan State had to lose their last game at Yost. Oh,
At Yost,
I felt so bad for those guys. Years later, I didn't feel bad that day, but years later, I felt really bad for them. I just didn't think about that. Just terrible. But that team in '98, we went into Boston, VPC in Boston, and it was a team of destiny. I mean, we had a freshman class that took a while to find their way, and they did. And, Josh Langfeld ended up scoring the game-winning goal. But what people don't talk about is Mark Kosick had 2 goals in that game too, in the final game. And he was a freshman. So, 3 goals from your freshman class in the final game. That's pretty good. But again, I think it goes back to the culture and the leadership that was instilled, and it allowed them to get to that point.
Yeah, it was Andre Signoretti that scored that goal for Ohio State you're talking about that knocked State out that year at Yost. And then
I knew that.
Yep. Yeah, and then think about this too. You're talking about the Michigan State rivalry a little bit there, and Ron Mason's last game was at Yost, and they didn't use your locker room. I can't see Red doing that. But the last game they played CC and they knocked them out, and that was it.
Really?
So, yeah, that was the last game that Mason coached. We didn't know it at the time.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, they played CC, and I think it was 1 or 2-0. I mean, you have Ryan Miller, and you can't score 1 or 2, and I think that happened to him earlier. But anyway, great memories, man. So the '98 class was when you guys had 10 freshmen, right?
That year, yeah, we had 10 guys that came in, the young kids. Scott Matska was a great player. Unfortunately, recently passed away from ALS.
Yes.
But he was a great player. Jeff Koch, Kosick, Mike Van Ryn, who was an unbelievable defenseman, who's now with the St. Louis Blues organization as an assistant coach. But it was a great group of guys, and I would think that was one of the weirder championships. We just got hot at the right time,
and the right teams lost.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that too. That some teams just have their number.
Yeah, right.
And we had the experience of being there in overtime and winning, and fortunately we got through New Hampshire nicely. Bubba Berenson had 2 goals in that game, and then against BC it was just a battle to the end.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Scott. Just something that what I remember. I was in sports in Lansing at the time when you guys were all doing your thing, anchoring the sports, and the one thing as an outsider, what I remember about him is how good he skated. Can you share a story of what he was like as a teammate and a friend? I'd just love to hear your thoughts on that, Richie, if you don't mind.
Really competitive guy, ultra competitive. His skating, you mentioned it, so I'll talk about it. He had a ridiculous fast stride. He could get up to top speed quick. Really was probably the fastest skater on our team as a freshman.
Yeah.
Just could absolutely burn it. But he had great balance too. Was able to absorb hits at full speed and continue to go. And this is kind of a new thing people talk about is, how good are you at absorbing and continually being able to go forward after you take a hit and not lose your balance, getting out of position. Things like that are becoming more and more important when you're in this world of no sticks. Back in the old days, if you got hit and fell down, you just stuck your stick in someone's belly and you were fine.
Right.
But now it's quite different. He came in as a highly touted recruit out of Omaha Lancers program and went through a lot. I mean, he had a tough freshman year. I think mentally he was, as all freshmen when they come in, they think they have a lot of optimism, and he had to learn a lot how to play in his place and do his things. And A lot of guys took to him later in the year as someone who grew and matured, and he was an important piece of that team. And then he just, he's a funny guy, wicked smart kid too, wicked smart kid, and was one of the smartest academically on our team for years, for the 2 years I was there. But it's freaking terrible. What a horrible situation. I feel for his wife and his kids, and the whole thing sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly did. And, I'll just say that. So let's move on and talk a little bit about, you're doing the college hockey thing when that's going on, obviously. And excuse me. Jeez, I need another drink of coffee. I wanted to ask you about what you saw heading into the tournament this year, or what the regular season, I guess. Who will you give me your Frozen Four that you would have had in Detroit?
Ooh, wow, that's a great question, because we don't know what the brackets would have been, but we can assume. I would assume that. I don't know if I can assume that though. I would think North Dakota and Minnesota Duluth may both get 1 seeds, or Minnesota State might. I don't know what would happen.
Yeah.
What would happen?
Well, I mean, my thoughts were North Dakota and Duluth in the final of our tournament in the NCHC, but you never know. Western was playing,
and then whoever won that would get the 1 seed. You think? Yeah, that's probably what would happen. And Minnesota State probably would have got the other one.
Yeah.
And then out east, it's a really good question. Out east, who would have got it? BC might have, because they were coming on hot.
Was UMass high enough, do you think, in terms of where they were in pairwise and all that?
A lot of it would have depended what happened in the tournament.
True. A lot of what ifs, I know, but
yeah. So, anyways, knowing what I know and not knowing the seeding and what the brackets would look like, just based on the teams, I think BC was going to come in for sure. They were playing really good hockey, and their superstar goaltender all of a sudden became who he was supposed to be, a first-round draft pick. He was terrific down the stretch. So I really like them, what they did. I really like Duluth. I don't think anybody was going to beat them. I love their game. They've won it twice in a row. I'm not betting against Scott Scanlon ever again.
Did you pick against them last year?
I picked them to go to the Frozen Four, but I did not. I don't think I picked them to win. I think I had them losing in the finals.
To UMass or another team?
I didn't have it UMass. No, I had it. Who did I have last year? Probably someone who got knocked out in the first round, if I can remember right. I mean, picking that tournament, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But I love what North Dakota did this year. I thought they were fantastic and doing well. And then, I look in the Big Ten, and I try to think of a team that could come out of the Big Ten and get to the tournament. And they were all starting to really catch their stride, which is weird. Michigan started playing really good hockey at the end of the year. I think they had won, maybe they hadn't lost in 13 games or something like that.
I think you're right,
which is pretty impressive, obviously playing good. I think they probably would have had to win the Big Ten tournament, though, to get in. So who knows if that happens.
Right.
We don't know. So, I don't think a Big Ten team would have got to the Frozen Four, though. I think it probably would have been another team out of Hockey East. So Lowell or UMass Amherst or another one. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I would have had BC there. I would have had both North Dakota and Minnesota Duluth. And I mean, I'm probably going to get heat if any North Dakota fans watch this too, but they are the biggest and, most vocal fan base in the country. I would have had a very hard time not picking Minnesota Duluth to make it 3 in a row. I just would have. I mean, you got Hunter Shepard in the back there. I mean, the guy, to me, I mean, Denver went back-to-back, but they did it with 2 different tenders. Minnesota, I don't remember if they had the same guy or not when they did it in 02-03. I mean, my point is you got to go back to the guy that you guys played in front of, Marty Turco, back 96, 98, back-to-backs. I mean, Hunter Shepard's one of the greats in the history of the sport.
He is, and they're defensemen with Sandberg and Brnovich. It's a joke. Ridiculous. They're watching them on the breakouts. It's really impressive. When they won their first title, so 3 years ago now.
18, yeah.
I did the games in Sioux City or Sioux Falls. I get them all mixed up, bro. Sioux Falls, and they played some unbelievable hockey defensively. There was no chance anyone was going to score very many goals on them. And the way they were able to get the puck out of the zone with ease, it just amazed me. I was shocked. And they played good. It wasn't like they were playing bad teams. They were playing good teams. But fortunately for them, they got through. And then and then obviously won the Frozen Four. But I agree with you. I don't know if anybody would have beat him. The only thing I would say that, and I can't speak too much to North Dakota because you saw them a lot more than I did this year.
Oh
But
yeah,
obviously, what a great year for them, and total comeback year. And college hockey needs them in the mix. I mean, it really does.
100%.
And that's the other reason I was really excited for the Frozen Four, because you had a good chance to get North Dakota, Minnesota, BC, and maybe another big name college hockey program in Detroit. It would have been nuts.
Yeah.
But I think BC could have given them a run. Their talent, this Alex Newhook kid, I'm telling you, he's unbelievable. Matt Boldy's going to be a star. He's a great player. And then obviously in Nets, they've got a first round pick. But they're a deep team, and I would be shocked if they don't, if not the favorite next year, preseason, along with North Dakota probably.
Right. I mean, North Dakota's got like 18, 19 guys. Everybody's back.
Yeah.
I mean, Pinto's
one of those two.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, and then, excuse me, Minnesota Duluth, they're losing a lot. I mean, Sandberg signed early. Justin Richards signed with Quinney and the Rangers, and Perunovic signed with St. Louis. I mean, they're losing a lot, but I think the player on their team that I think is going to be a star next year, and I think he was coming into his own and came into his own this year, was Cole Koepke. I mean, the kid can fly. He can shoot the puck. I don't know what, you see him. I see him more than you do, but I know you do your homework. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, again, it's just once you get that pedigree right, where the underclassmen follow what the juniors and seniors did.
Yeah.
You look at the Anderson kids. I mean,
yeah,
it's unbelievable the culture that Sandelin's built there. He knows what he's doing, right?
Oh,
this isn't just magic happening.
No,
I mean no one's talking about him as much as they should. He's won 3 national titles now.
Yeah, correct, and been to 4 Frozen Fours.
Yeah, is there any other active coach that has 3? Don't think so.
Jerry
has how many? 4?
4 or 5.
Does he?
Somebody will call us out when they're watching this. Don't worry.
No, that's great. Please do. I'd love to hear how smart you are after you look it up. By the way, Twitter drives me nuts.
Go ahead.
Twitter drives me nuts. I mean, people who always catch you on a mistake. I'm like, bro, I'm doing the game live. Shit's gonna happen. I'm gonna mess up. So thank you for telling me. I know. It's ridiculous. It's like, are you kidding me? Thank you for letting me know I messed up.
Right.
It's like these crusaders. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Anyways, before I let you go, I want to give you a chance, if you'd like, to tell everybody out there what you're doing with your business, and if you want to do that, you're certainly welcome to, my friend.
Oh yeah, so I run a distribution firm for asset managers. So we sell products, mutual funds, and ETFs to financial advisors all throughout the country, and got a great team of about 20 people that work all throughout the U.S. for us, selling to various firms, and it's been a great business, been a lot of fun. We've been at it now for 6 years. Been in the business for 14, but been started my own firm 6 years ago. So it's been great. It's been a really busy time right now with everything going on. I can tell you that people are anxious about what's happening, and hopefully we'll get through this as a country and get to the other side. But I'm really looking forward to just going to a restaurant again and a bar again, and just back to normal life.
Yeah.
I don't like the social distancing thing. If there's anyone who was made to social distance, it was not me.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
used to it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a handshake and hug guy, that, and I don't know. I mean, my son comes over, he's quarantined with his mom, my ex-wife, and, I still give him a hug. He's my kid. So, other than that,
right.
My girlfriend, and other than that, but yeah, I'm with you on that, man. And I'm glad to see you doing so well. And, like I said, going all the way back to the beginning, we started talking, you were coaching and Honey Baked and wherever you were coaching. And then, 5 years later, you're married, you got kids and business. I'm like, I'm happy and proud as a friend of yours, man, to see you doing so well, Richie.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Hey, before you take me out of here,
I'm not kicking you out. We can talk as long as you want.
I got one question for you.
What is it?
And I think this is an important question that all college hockey people need to think about.
Okay.
What does this game need to do to expand? Does it need to expand? And if it doesn't need to expand, how does it continue to succeed with the current structure it has?
Oh man, I didn't know you were going to put me on the spot like that, brother.
Yeah. I think it's an important thing we all got to think about. We got conferences that are they're going a
Yeah.
little haywire on us. We've got low budget or college teams. What have you thought about? You travel around to all these rinks. You talk to all these coaches. Every coach has a different opinion. Every fan base has a different opinion. What do you think?
I think the first thing I think is the CCHA coming back is going to save some teams.
Regionally, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you played in the league. It was a bus league. And then, I heard from, my buddy Dom Henning, was at Ferris for years. I'm sure you remember Dom, and he's been doing the Firebirds in the OHL. I mean, he texted me one day 4 years ago or whatever it was. He's like, Benny, we got a 16-hour bus ride to Bemidji State. Nothing against Bemidji. We love Tom Serratori and the Beavers, but it makes no sense. So,
right.
I mean, I think that's step one. I don't know. I don't know what we do. I think it's only a matter of time before we see another conference come up out west. I don't know what's going to happen with the conference that I've done games in for 7 years. I don't know that anything is imminently. This is a pipe dream, but it'll never happen. I would love to see the Big Ten get 2 more teams. The NCHC's got 8. You got 2 divisions. You bring back that Minnesota-North Dakota rivalry every year, Wisconsin-North Dakota. Can you imagine Michigan playing North Dakota up there, North Dakota coming to play like you guys did? I mean, that'll probably never happen because of money. But
right.
I think the first step is the CCHA coming back, and when that happens, I think that's going to help save a lot of these programs. I think. What do you think?
It's. I think you're right with the CCHA. I think it's going to be good. I think the reason that Hockey East and the ECAC have not had to make any changes is because of proximity, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, out west, we've got a little bit of a geographical challenge.
A little bit.
And you got to figure out what works and what doesn't work. But I would like to see the NHL continue to work with these universities to bring on some of the bigger universities that have the budget that can continue to grow the game, which means more jobs for coaches, more opportunities for the kids out there that are looking to play the game. Because if these smaller programs can't stay afloat, how many head coaches are going to take jobs for, less income than maybe they can make somewhere else? Or, how's the game going to continue to evolve in college hockey? And I think it's a real question that's got to be answered. Because, Arizona State, look what they're doing. It's incredible. They're building a new stadium. They're getting them up. But, NCHC doesn't want them, or they don't want the NCHC. I don't know what the answer is. Have not been involved in those conversations.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that some of the big budget schools can help to grow the game and get more scholarships and more jobs for these kids or for the coaches that are out there. Because how much longer is Lake State going to continue to run a program?
Right.
When it's really expensive.
Yeah.
I hope it's forever. It's a great historical program, and they've got amazing alumni. But it's not cheap, and so honestly, I don't know what the answer is. I'm just curious to know your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think I enjoyed hearing yours, and I gave you what I thought. I think what you're saying is something that could certainly help it too. So, hopefully it continues to grow and continue to be strong, and watch out for these guys. I think they would have made it 5 in a row. Whether it was North Dakota or Duluth, I think they were winning the whole thing.
Oh yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Hockey East this year was really good, but I think the NCHC was still, with those 2 teams at the top, it's hard to say there's a better conference talent wise, skill wise than that right now.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure. Well, it's good to join you, buddy.
You too, brother. Good to have you on from Yost, Florida, and I love the background, man. That's awesome. I miss doing games in there. We haven't done a game in there. You and I haven't worked together on a game, I think, since I want to say it wasn't Quinny. When Quinny came in with BU, I brought that up. You probably saw that, right, in the interview?
Yeah.
His tender had to stop like 55 that night, but I think we did, was it UMass Lowell we did a couple games in there with, but I miss Yost, and what a great barn, man. It's just such an awesome venue to do games in, and I miss going in there.
Yeah, it's still, got that special shine to it, doesn't it? It's just a cool building to go into and watch a game. It's as a fan, it's great. As a player, it's great. It's a unique experience. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this, man, and
You bet.
stay safe and healthy. And hi to the family. And how old are your kids now?
9 and almost 7. She turned 7, and this is a big talker here in the Ritchlin house. Is what am I going to do for my birthday? For my 7th birthday? What can we do? She's like, I can't have my friends over. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm like, I don't know, buddy. It's gonna be interesting. Hopefully by then they lift the social distancing, which they're not going to. But if they did, it'd be great.
Right. Well, good luck.
Yeah, ruin a 6-year-old's dreams. Great. Here we go. Thanks, America.
Yeah, no, I don't want that. Mine will be over tomorrow. We're doing more podcasts. So he came over and hooked me up with a new mic today. And
Good.
I'm just trying to, keep it afloat, brother.
Yeah, we'll keep that brain going.
I got to do something, man. The first couple weeks I was all right. And then I'm climbing the wall. You know me, man. I got to be doing something. And
Same way,
this is
buddy.
a great outlet, and, hope it's helping, putting some smiles on some people's faces, and having a lot of great guests, yourself included in that. And means a lot, Richie. I appreciate you doing it, brother.
All right, bud. Have a good one. Take care.
All right, Sean Ritchlin joining us here on No Holding Back. We'll see you next time with an all-new edition of No Holding Back.